Today on the Morning Edition, Alaska's western coastline continues to see flooding, high waves, and fierce winds with another storm on the way. We bring you the latest details as we keep an eye on the developing weather. Plus, students in Fairbanks were given an opportunity to learn some big civic duties by participating in school-held mock elections. The results were a bit different than the actual election outcomes. We'll take a look. And later, a small community in Alabama got everyone together in a way you might not expect. Toilet paper wars, and it had far-reaching effects. Even people here in Alaska are getting in on it. We'll show you the fun as the Morning Edition starts right now.
I do know that we do have some homes with water damage.
All of a sudden, there was just a little bit of water, and then next thing you know, we were just surrounded.
When the wind picked up, that's when we started sending people up to the school.
Just kind of went through all the areas of Kotzebue that was really impacted and what we're supposed to be expecting again coming this Sunday. Another storm headed our way.
Powerful winds and surging waves slammed western Alaska, leaving homes damaged and forcing families to flee. Our Alaska's News Source meteorologists have been closely following these storms, Aaron, and it seems like western Alaska just can't catch a break. They have the remnants of another typhoon coming their way.
Yeah, and that's going to bring another round of some high winds, some rough seas, as well as some heavy rainfall that's going to build into areas of western Alaska. Before we get to that, we are waking up this morning to some localized areas of some freezing conditions across South Central with some breezy winds here in Anchorage. 42 degrees is where we're currently sitting at, with winds gusting up to 22 miles per hour. And you can see areas of the valley waking up this morning where those temperatures are sitting near or below freezing. Now, Anchorage is sitting at 42 degrees, while East Anchorage is seeing some frost potential this morning. And we will see another round of that possible freezing potential as we welcome in your Saturday morning. But then we are going to see the return to those overnight lows back above the upper 30s and lower 40s. Fairly quiet as we start off this morning across South Central through the interior. We are seeing some rain as well as some localized areas of wintry mix. But of course, the big story statewide continues to be what we're watching out towards the western Aleutians. This is the remnants of a Kamchatka low that continues to weaken. Then, of course, Typhoon Halong, which is out towards well south of the western Aleutians. These two will merge together as we welcome in the weekend. This is going to lead to increasing rain, widespread strong winds, as well as some rough seas, as well as some coastal flooding looking likely as well. So there's the remnants of that typhoon, which will once again continue to strengthen as it builds back into the Aleutians as well as the Bering Sea as we welcome in the weekend. So it's going to be another stormy weekend ahead for a large portion of western Alaska. Now, the greatest impacts are going to be felt across areas south of the Seward Peninsula. Now, out towards Kotzebue, northwestern parts of the state, you'll still see some impacts, just not as great as what areas of southwest Alaska will be. So now is the time to prepare for this next storm system as we're going to see some of the greatest impacts arriving throughout the weekend, particularly into our Sunday and Monday. So coming up in my full forecast, we'll be talking more about that strong storm that's going to impact the state, as well as what to expect when it comes to those winds. Well, we'll see some of the strongest winds, as well as that coastal flooding looking likely. I'll have more on that coming up in my full forecast. Kristen.
Yeah, and Aaron, Governor Mike Dunleavy issued a disaster declaration for the West Coast to put into motion programs for residents needing help. The State Emergency Operations Center has requested the support of the Alaska Organized Militia, which includes the Alaska National Guard and State Defense Force, to assist with response and recovery efforts. Now we go to Adelmi Ruiz, who has been keeping a close eye on the situation in the newsroom for us. Adelmi.
The disaster declaration for Western Alaska is intended to aid in the recovery after Wednesday's storm, as well as prepare for the storm headed towards the coast this weekend. So far, no injuries have been reported in the wake of the storm, but communities are continuing to assess the damage and determine the cost. The state's public assistance program has been opened up, designed to help communities restore critical infrastructure damaged by the disaster. The Alaska National Guard also confirmed that they are currently gearing up to deploy to Kotzebue on Friday, expecting to provide shelter, disaster supplies, and aid in assessing the damage and removing debris. It was around this time last year that the western coast faced similar flooding and storms, which some residents said helped them prepare for this last storm and the one still ahead.
It just goes to show how strong we can be when we all pitch in, and we're focused on bouncing back from challenges and making sure Kotzebue is safer and more prepared, for any flooding that might come our way in the future.
We've had many residents already put some of their property and valuable stuff to higher ground. So we've kind of announced that if you would like to return that property back to your home property, you're more than welcome to. But just keep in mind that we might have another surge coming.
Staying informed right now is critical. Our weather app has 24/7 updated coverage at your fingertips from the Alaska's Weather Source team. Just search for it in the App Store. You can also sign up for alerts at alaskasnewssource.com. That will give you up-to-the-minute updates on Alaska news and weather. Kristen?
All right, thanks, Adelmi. A Wasilla man accused in the connection of a teen girl's death has pleaded guilty in federal court to distributing a deadly synthetic opioid. Prosecutors say Sean Mobley admitted to giving carfentanil to 16-year-old Elena Tonis in November. The drug is said to be 100 times stronger than fentanyl and 10,000 times more potent than morphine. Court documents say after Tonis overdosed and lost consciousness, Mobley believed she had died and dumped her body near a power line trail in Wasilla. Troopers found her body the next morning. Mobley faces a minimum of 20 years in prison and up to life when he's sentenced in January. He also faces state charges, including second-degree murder. A change of plea and sentencing hearing for that case is also scheduled for January. As the government shutdown moves into its 10th day, it's now beginning to affect the paychecks of federal workers. For many, today's paychecks will be smaller, and they'll be the last checks until Congress agrees on a spending package for the current fiscal year. It gets worse next week as military personnel will miss their first paycheck on October 15th. That has never happened before. Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski is calling for more bipartisan conversations as a way to move past the shutdown and reopen the government.
We do need to get the government open. I think we would all agree to that. We've got some timelines that are coming upon us very fast, where people are going to feel this real time when it comes to their pay or not receiving their pay. And every day that we do not have an answer to this is more stressful to a lot of people. I'm one who always says you cannot go wrong by having more conversation.
Meantime, despite the shutdown, Alaska's News Source has learned thousands of Alaskans will keep getting food assistance, at least for now. Political reporter Will Courtney explains.
Hi there, this is Will Courtney with Alaska's News Source. We've been following the impacts of the government shutdown, specifically on some of these federal programs and their impacts in Alaska. One of those programs we've been watching is WIC. It stands for Women, Infants, and Children, and it's a supplemental nutrition program. It specifically is able to provide food benefits, nutrition, education, and breastfeeding support for people who are eligible. Now, it was actually set to lose all of its funding because of the government shutdown within the next 2 weeks. That's actually been pushed down the road until the end of October. That's because the USDA is allocating $300 million for the program. That's confirmed by Senator Lisa Murkowski's office. So as part of our reporting today, we wanted to see what role WIC plays in Alaska. Here's what I heard from several healthcare leaders around the state.
Tight. We're in an economy right now that is, between paying for rent or paying for a mortgage, paying for your bills, there's not a lot left over, for those essential items like, fruits and vegetables and, those good meats and things that we have to keep us going. And so WIC is a program that kind of steps in and helps with those things.
So WIC is the second program to receive funding this week after the funding was threatened by the government shutdown. For more information, including what the state will do if funding isn't enough, you can make sure to visit our website and our mobile app for more information.
Learning about democracy and civic duties, students across the Fairbanks School District practiced voting in a mock election Monday. More than 2,000 students took part in the Kids Voting program, many of them during their history classes. They cast anonymous electronic ballots in the races for borough assembly and the school board. Some of these young voters have been participating in these events since elementary school.
I just pick up information online. I mean, it's easy to find information. I don't really understand why voting polls are so low because information is easy to find.
Looking up like what they think and like what they will do to improve our school recently, and I think most of them have, but most of them don't answer how they are actually going to.
It gives like kind of a basis of understanding of how the system's going to work, how the ballots work, how the voting works, registration. We got a little bit of information on that.
The results released Wednesday showed some sharp differences from the unofficial election results from the borough so far, with candidates Barbara Haney, Melissa Burnett, and Sam Spencer taking the leads in the student vote. Well, coming up next here on the Morning Edition, the price of gold is rising up, as they say, breaking the records that have held for decades. We'll bring you more details next.
Still keeping our eyes on that next storm that impacts us through the weekend. I'll have more on what to expect through the days ahead. But first at sunrise, 8:30 in Anchorage, 7:23 in Juneau. Your full forecast is next.
Welcome back. 14 minutes past the hour on this Friday morning. Aaron, as we mentioned earlier this morning, Western Alaska is bracing for more severe weather headed their way.
Yeah, and we are catching kind of a lull in that pattern before that next storm system arrives through the weekend. So it's kind of allowing us to pick up any of that debris, any impacts that we did see from that flooding through the past about 24 to 48 hours over Western Alaska. So we are going to see a nice break before that next storm system does build in. We are waking up to some snow showers along the slope. Fairbanks seeing some rain, 47 degrees in St. Paul, 55 degrees in Unalaska. And while we're waking up in the 40s here in Anchorage, portions of South Central seeing those temperatures dipping down near freezing. As we've already been talking about, this is what we're watching this morning, that Kamchatka low. We've got the remnants of a typhoon just south of the western Aleutians. These two systems will play off of each other as we welcome in the coming days, and we're going to see this storm system re-strengthen as it builds back into the Aleutians as well as the Bering Sea. So that actual storm system itself still well south of the Aleutians, but we've got this low, this Kamchatka low, and then we've got this ridge of high pressure that's south of the Gulf of Alaska. Notice this area, weaker area embedded within this flow of the low as well as this high. This is where we're going to see that the impacts of this storm system beginning to build in through the weekend. So the Aleutians will see some increasing rain as well as some high seas and as well as ongoing gusty winds as that storm system builds northward into the Bering Sea, and then once again building out along the western coast as we welcome in the weekend. We'll see some of the greatest impacts arriving Sunday on into Monday. However, out towards the Aleutians, those impacts will begin to arrive overnight on into your Saturday. As far as this morning, you can see that Kamchatka low continuing to lead to some ongoing winds through the Aleutians. Nothing significant. Those stronger winds, though, arrive overnight on into our Saturday. And you can see that beginning the impacts of that storm system arriving as early as the afternoon hours, mid-morning, early afternoon into your Saturday. That will build northward out towards St. Paul, the Pribilof Islands, and then as well as Gamble, St. Lawrence as we welcome in the weekend. This will be a quick-moving storm system, and as it builds inland, we'll see those winds rapidly die down, but be prepared. Sunday on into Monday will be where we'll see some of the greatest impacts. And we've got coastal flood warnings in effect from areas of southwest Alaska all the way up towards the northwest Arctic borough. And when we're talking about what we're going to see when it comes to that coastal flood warning, areas of southwest Alaska could see anywhere from about 5 to nearly 15 feet when it comes to that coastal flooding. Now, areas further north, which has been seeing the greatest impacts from this flooding the last couple of days, you'll see a lot less in that coastal flooding, but you'll still see some of that storm surge to be expected. Kotzebue Sound could once again see those water levels climb back near major flood stage as we welcome in the weekend. So we'll be watching for that. So that storm timeline, we are seeing some impacts today just from that Kamchatka low, but be prepared. Sunday on into Monday is where we'll see some of the greatest impacts from this storm system here in South Central. We will tap into some rain from that as we welcome in the weekend. Temperatures stay in the upper 40s, lower 50s, with overnight lows steadily warming.
This week, a record that has stood since 1979 in Alaska's history is being broken. The price of gold just keeps climbing. Danny Tompkins tells us more.
Gold. It's always played a part in Alaska's history, but right now it's making a comeback with its best annual performance in almost 50 years.
It's kind of 3 different textures here, and you can see
Now may be the time to check your old jewelry boxes. Anchorage minter Gunnar Roebuck has noticed some changes in his mint shop.
There's a lot more people coming in to buy gold for an investment. Absolutely. So it's just more interest than ever in that. It's like little things that used to be a couple $100 or $600 or $1,000. So it's for us, it's also shocking.
With gold going for almost $4,000 an ounce, Roebuck is hoping to preserve the large amounts of gold jewelry being traded in.
With the price of gold so high, there's a big incentive to melt a lot of stuff. And so we try to shine it up and put it to a new home instead of melting it.
And while jewelry is one thing to trade in, others bring in freshly mined nuggets.
And what do you know when this was found?
That one was found in the 60s, and the miner held on to it until last year. So he did really good. A lot of them, I think he buried it in his yard, he said. They have a lot of these miners like to bury it after they find it, so they know where it's at, but they know it's safe in the ground.
Roebuck says that nuggets are the most desirable form of gold, especially now.
As an example, this gold nugget is worth more than it ever has been.
And continuing in tradition, gold mining today is more common in Alaska than many may think.
I think it's healthier than ever. They're finding a lot of gold. There's a lot of people searching.
With the gold prices soaring, many may wonder what to do with any gold they have.
I'd say if you can hold on to it, I'd keep holding on to it because this has been quite a ride. There's got to be an end someday, but I have no clue if that's today. That is for sure. It's anybody's guess why it keeps going. And we've already a couple times sold a batch of gold thinking this has got to be it, and it just keeps going.
For those with old jewelry, now may be the perfect time to find out what gold mines you may be sitting on.
From the Klondike gold rush to rocketing prices now, there's no doubt that gold continues to shape Alaska. The question is, how long will this surge last? Danny Tompkins, Alaska's news source.
Well, from substantial economic settlements to a Pacific green sea turtle that was way out of place, this week in Alaska history was another interesting one. Justin Matson and John Thompson take you through this week in Alaska history. Check it out on our free streaming platforms on Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Roku.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically and stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.